UFC 329 is drawing closer, and the July 11 showdown is already building a lot of anticipation. As that date gets near, Max Holloway and Conor McGregor are said to be deep into their own training camps, with both sides trading warnings ahead of the matchup. In the middle of that build-up, there was also a stray line in the source about "in my family," which appears to be incomplete and does not change the main point of the segment. Max Holloway's striking coach, Ivan Flores, says Holloway has now moved into the final, more polished phase of camp. Flores explained that the work has shifted away from big changes and toward fine-tuning, preparing for different scenarios and tightening every small detail. He also said Holloway looks fully dialed in, based on his movement, his decision-making, and the mindset he is bringing into camp. Meanwhile, Conor McGregor says he is fully locked into preparations for his rematch with Max Holloway. He described this training camp as intense and all-consuming, with his attention centered on every part of the process. McGregor also voiced confidence that, because he is already familiar with Holloway's style, he can put together a sharper and more effective performance than he did the first time they met.
Closer it gets, the more motivated you are, so just more excited you are. So the small adjustments have been happening and whatnot, and like right now it's just kind of like small little fine tuning and so forth. But we progressively get quite a bit better, and once we find where we need to be, we just look to really maintain it. We look to any sort of contingencies, adjustments that might happen, that may need to happen, plan A, B, and C. We try to make sure that we cover all our bases and whatnot. And I like it. I feel like things are really clicking. Max looks extremely locked in, but I can see it in his eyes, I can see it in his movement, I can see it in decision making. He's right there.
Michael Chiesa is also sounding optimistic about what he has seen from Conor McGregor ahead of his return. Chiesa says McGregor appears healthier, more focused, and in a better place than he has been in years. In his view, it is not just the usual pre-fight talk either, because McGregor's overall demeanor and even the way he is carrying himself seem to show that he is fully locked in for this training camp. That kind of buzz is exactly why the conversation around this matchup keeps growing. Fans online are reading into every update, every comment, and every small detail from both camps, trying to figure out who really has the edge. At this stage, even the body language and the tone around the training camp are getting attention, because people are comparing how each fighter is presenting themselves before the fight. Some viewers think that is a sign of confidence, while others see it as just the usual pre-fight noise that tends to surround big names. Either way, the reaction shows that this is not being treated like a regular matchup. With both sides under a microscope and the discussion getting louder by the day, every new remark adds another layer to the story, and the pressure around this return continues to build.
Let's cheers to that. The Mac is back, baby. Let's go. It's like a musical. Music to my ears it is. Rob, I'm out so long, 5 years. My body's fresh, my mind is sharp. I'm ready to come back. I've got a great opponent. I've got a great deal off the UFC. I'm very, very happy. They honored me, finally, I'll say. So, July 11th. And the opponent is a man that I have beaten before in Max Holloway. So he is an established fighter, an accomplished fighter, former UFC world champion, multiple time. So this is a quality opponent.
Indeed. And
our last bout was martial arts mastery by yours truly. So I plan on doing it again. I plan on showing my growth, and my improvements in there. So I'm very, very excited for it. Preparation is going very well. We're living, breathing, and sleeping in the gym. Literally.
Here we are.
I live in the gym. I have a base here, and I have a base in my coach John's gym, and I go between them both. So training's going very, very...
Michael Chiesa appears to view Max Holloway as the rightful favorite, saying the odds should clearly tilt in his direction. At the same time, Chiesa also points out that Conor McGregor could still carry some value as an underdog, especially with so many questions still surrounding his return, even though Holloway remains the safer pick in his eyes.
Conor in the cage on July 11th. So everything you're seeing leading up to that, do you like it? Does it make you feel better?
I'll say this, okay, and I'll tread lightly. It's not really what he's saying. It's just I like what I see. He just looks healthy. He just looks like he's healthy in a good spot. the mannerisms, the presence looks like a guy that's focused in camp, not dabbling in any debauchery. The way he just looks healthy. He looks like a healthy Conor McGregor, healthiest that I think we've seen in a long time. So the talk is whatever, but it's what I see is what I like. I think that he's healthy and he's in a very good spot.
When talking about Conor McGregor's return, Georges St-Pierre stresses that any real comeback depends on preparing in the toughest environment possible. In his view, fighters have to get comfortable being uncomfortable in camp, which means testing themselves against unfamiliar sparring partners and styles that do not mirror the usual routine. St-Pierre says that being raised questions about those unpredictable looks is one of the best ways to make sure a fighter is truly ready when fight night arrives.
Percent for Max Holloway, 34% for Conor McGregor. Does that feel like an appropriate, winning percentage for Max, or would you see it being, higher than a 2/3 shots of him winning?
It looks about right. I think that Max should be close to like a 3-1 favorite. I think that's not a bad number. But we'll see. There's so many what ifs with fights like this. And, there's going to be a lot of late steam coming. Conor McGregor as an underdog. Now I'll put my betting cap on. Is there some value there to take a chance on him as an underdog? Maybe don't bet the bank, but you could sprinkle on it. But I think safe money would be Max Holloway.
GSP also said he expects Conor McGregor to come back only when the stakes are at their highest. He acknowledged just how difficult that road would be, but still suggested McGregor could step up if the moment is big enough. GSP called it a fascinating matchup that he would like to watch, adding, "I think if he comes back for big things, and he doesn't come for small things, so he better..."
He suffered a catastrophic injury in that window too. Is the harder part of that comeback, especially fighting someone like Max, who's, still on top of his game? Is it more mental or physical?
Yeah, you need to make sure when you prepare yourself, you need to try to recreate that environment, that level of discomfort that you will face. If you stay in your comfort zone during their training camp, it's not good. You need to make sure you bring guys that gonna try to make you uncomfortable, and I'm not only talking about skills and sparring, I'm talking about sometimes it's good to bring guys that you never train with. You have the butterfly, you don't know how they move, you don't know if they're dirty, they're gonna try to hurt me, or you know what I mean? So.
On the other hand, Michael Bisping points to what he sees as the biggest contrast in this possible matchup: Conor McGregor's long stretch away from the octagon versus Max Holloway's steady run against elite competition. Bisping, while still noting that McGregor can be dangerous and may be extra motivated, suggests Holloway would likely have the edge in timing, rhythm, and recent cage experience. That contrast is exactly why the conversation keeps picking up online, because people are not just debating who looks better on paper. They are weighing momentum, timing, and how much ring rust could matter once the pressure rises. For supporters of Holloway, the steady activity and sharper rhythm make a strong case. For McGregor's side, the argument is that a high-stakes return could still bring out a different version of him if he steps in with the right mindset. That is why the matchup keeps drawing attention from commentators and fans alike, since every take seems to land on the same question: whether recent activity or pure star power will matter more when the cage door closes.
He comes back for big things, and he doesn't come for small things. So you better, it's appropriate. It's appropriate. Of course, if I would be in Conor's camp, I would be like, man, it's, strap in, because it's a hell of a fight, but he can do it. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to tune in.
Meanwhile, Michael Bisping added his own take on Conor McGregor's legacy and the growing buzz around a potential comeback, noting how much attention the conversation is drawing online. He said he expects a charged atmosphere in Las Vegas, where both Conor McGregor and Max Holloway would likely have huge fan support all through fight week.
July 11th, which incidentally is 3 days before Conor McGregor's 38th birthday, okay? Not an old man, but certainly not a spring chicken by any accounts, and certainly when it comes to professional fighting. Now, you could argue that he's had 5 years away from the sport, which is true. That's 5 years of not having the wear and tear. That's 5 years of not going through training camps, 5 years of not getting punched on the face, taken down, choked out, all that kind of stuff. The wear and tear, he hasn't been going through that. The man's made an absolute fortune in and outside of the cage, so he hasn't had to do that. He's been chasing business ventures and enjoying himself outside of the octagon. Fair play to him. That is the life that he's built. But he's coming back, right? And Max Holloway, as we know, has been very, very active.
Offering a similar take, Alexander Volkanovski said Conor McGregor still looks like a dangerous matchup on paper, pointing to his speed and explosiveness even after the long layoff. At the same time, Volkanovski suggested McGregor could come out fast early on, but may start to fade in the later rounds if he is matched with someone as active and consistent as Max Holloway.
And rip on Conor McGregor's career, far from it, right? He had a sensational career, and the rise that he had, I don't think we'll ever see it. The way that he took over the sport, and to be fair, the way that he's going to take over Vegas when this fight happens, the Irish are going to come out like crazy. The Hawaiians are going to be there in style as well, because of course, Vegas is the 9th island, so there's going to be wild fan bases everywhere. The atmosphere at the T-Mobile Arena will be incredible.
Offering yet another perspective, Wade Plemons views this as a very close matchup. He notes that Conor McGregor still appears to have edges in speed, power, and even some familiarity with Max Holloway's style, at least on paper. At the same time, Plemons highlights Holloway's non-stop pace and elite cardio as real advantages that could shape the fight. He also raises the question of whether all those high-volume wars inside the octagon might start to take a toll on Holloway as his career moves forward.
Your foe of yours, Max Holloway, will be welcoming Conor McGregor back to the octagon next month, we all hope. If this fight does happen, it's at welterweight. How do you see this going? Can Conor do anything with the fighter you're probably more familiar with than anyone in Max Holloway?
Well, we know that Conor hasn't been in the game for a long time, and I think a lot of people are thinking that he's just going to lose everything, but that's not the case. He's going to be dangerous. He's obviously going to still be very sharp, very explosive. Still got a good eye. Is it the exact eye that he had when he was double champ and doing what he was doing? No, probably not, but still going to be very dangerous. And I know Max is going to respect that. Obviously, they're going to want to put on a show, but at the same time, you're going to know Conor will be very dangerous early. I think Max will make the right decisions to not just get in the fire straight away, and then start to work him later in them rounds. So we know that Conor, again, very dangerous, very explosive, but that is going to wear on you. And with that big layoff, even though he's probably training very hard, we know that that's going to eventually wear on him, and that sharpness that I reckon he still has is probably going to deteriorate a lot quicker because of he's been out of the game for so long.
Meanwhile, Usman Nurmagomedov has been raising questions about whether Conor McGregor will actually make his return, or even get all the way to a fight with Max Holloway. He pointed to McGregor's long layoff as a major hurdle, while also acknowledging that if the comeback does happen, it would create massive buzz across the sport. When the conversation turned to McGregor's potential return, Usman was asked, "Do you think he actually makes it to that fight? And do you think he beats Max Holloway?" And that question is exactly why the conversation keeps growing online. With McGregor's return still surrounded by uncertainty, every comment from a former fighter or analyst seems to add another layer to the debate, especially when people are already split on whether the matchup is realistic at all. Some fans see the long layoff as the biggest issue, while others believe the bigger story is whether Holloway's pace would force a real test if the fight ever gets booked. So at this point, the discussion is not just about who might win, it is also about whether the matchup can even make it past the speculation stage.
Is at 170, but he's also already faced Max, and he also already knows what Max is susceptible to, and does somewhat better when guys are high-volume strikers that don't have a ton of power in their hands. And yes, I do believe that there's a different version of both guys that are fighting. Conor is not the old Conor in good and bad ways, and Max is not the old Max in good and bad ways. I think Max's advantages are his volume, his gas tank. He has weaponized pace and cardio that Conor, it's very difficult for him to keep up the same pace in cardio for 5 rounds. I think Conor obviously has the speed. I think he has the power advantage. I think we'll see if he still has the fight IQ. I think we'll see if he still can walk Max onto punches and set him up and those things. But overall, the biggest thing we're not talking about that we probably should is that Max has run multiple marathons in that cage. And how will that affect his body as he, gets into the later part of his career? He spent his life in there. We've seen Max from when he was a baby, and he hasn't taken any time off like Conor has. It's a massive weakness and one that could turn.
As fight week gets closer, Ariel Helwani says he is especially interested in seeing how Conor McGregor looks after such a long layoff, and he expects the build-up around the event to draw huge attention. He also views this matchup as a major chance for Max Holloway to raise his profile even further on one of the biggest stages of his career.
We mentioned the Irish. I mean, Conor McGregor. One, do you think he actually makes it to that fight? And two, you think he beats Max Holloway?
First of all, I don't believe he's gonna come. He's gonna be a fight with him. This is first. Second, if he will, I'm not sure he's gonna beat, because 5 years to staying away from this sport, this is like too much. It's very long. And third one, if he will beat him, this is good for MMA. He's beginning talk, and more fans come back.
You
Why
said
not?
Conor winning is good for MMA.
Yes, if he will win, this is good for.
I agree.
There is what it is, brother. This is
the stars.
Offering his prediction, the MMA analyst is leaning toward Max Holloway, but he also points out that Conor McGregor's size and physical strength could still create real problems, especially if that edge holds up into the later rounds. The bigger question, in his view, is how McGregor responds after such a long layoff, because this matchup may finally show whether he can still operate at an elite level when dealing with top-tier pace and pressure.
I'm excited to see how he looks. I think the build-up's going to be fun. I think he's missed it. Genuinely, he's worked very hard to get here. Great opportunity for Max, obviously, after the Charles fight. You wouldn't have thought that he would get an opportunity that was bigger than that one, but here he is, bigger stage, bigger name, bigger opponent, primetime international fight week, and that card will likely have Patty, Gable Steveson. That's big-time stuff. That's old-school international fight week. So,
building on that prediction, MMA Guru said Conor McGregor could be at his most dangerous early on, mainly because of his power and explosiveness. In his view, those opening rounds may be where McGregor creates the biggest threat. But he also raised questions about whether the added size and long layoff could start working against him as the fight goes deeper. That is why he leans toward Max Holloway overall, pointing to Holloway's non-stop pace, strong cardio, and well-known durability as the factors that could decide things if the matchup actually plays out.
Towards Max Holloway, and I'm leaning towards Max Holloway, but I don't know if, McGregor's going to at least have 10 pounds on him, dude. He has put on a lot of size. Is that a recipe for disaster for him if this does go into the later rounds? Yes. I'm talking about a McGregor fight in 2026. I'm breaking down a Conor McGregor fight in 2026, dude. I actually can't believe I'm saying these words. We're so back. The White House card, Strickland beats Chimaev. If only Yuri wouldn't have fumbled it. Yuri, you fool. It's all good though, man. We're so back.
Following the growing debate around the matchup, Brendan Schaub is questioning whether Conor McGregor can quickly get back to the elite form that once made him one of the sport's biggest stars, especially after spending years away from top-level competition. He added that this is exactly where the stylistic conversation gets more interesting, because Max Holloway's non-stop pace, steady pressure, and ability to drown opponents in volume could make this one of the toughest tests McGregor might face if the fight actually gets booked. And that is exactly why the conversation keeps picking up online, because this is not just about one fight, it is also about what this matchup could say about McGregor's current level if the rumors around his return actually hold up. Some viewers are treating Holloway's pace as the clearest advantage, while others think McGregor's early burst could still make things interesting if he comes out sharp. That split reaction is what makes the build-up feel so intense, since every new take seems to circle back to the same question: can McGregor still handle that kind of pressure after so much time away? For Holloway, the attention only grows if he keeps looking composed, because fans and commentators are already watching to see whether this spot becomes the moment he fully steps into that bigger spotlight.
Interesting in the later rounds, because McGregor's put on some big size and he's been inactive. And of course his calf is going to be a target for Max Holloway, although that's not something that Holloway typically does. It's not like a weapon of his that McGregor has to watch out for. And McGregor's going to have a lot of power at 170 though on the other side of things. And Holloway just had a lot of momentum snatched away from him by Charles Oliveira. And this is very quickly announced as well. Like last week, this was rumored, and then now it's official. And I feel like that's by design from Conor McGregor. Maybe Holloway was hearing about some things, but this doesn't really give Holloway time to think about adjusting to 170. He's probably going to show up in 155 shape and just not cut the weight at all. I'm leaning towards Holloway, though. I don't think you can just dip in and out of this game. McGregor is really good, and he's going to be dangerous early, and it would be interesting and crazy if he does just chin Holloway immediately.
Building on that assessment, Schaub suggests the fight could get tougher and tougher for McGregor as the rounds go on. He points to Holloway's durability, non-stop work rate, and comfort at welterweight as the kind of advantages that might slowly take over if the matchup stretches out. In that view, McGregor's clearest path appears to be the early rounds, before cardio and pace become a bigger factor.
Personal against, and like Max Holloway's a family guy, good dude. So is he going to go super dirty and like personal? Like he even did that with Dustin Poirier and his wife. It's like, I don't know what lane he can take with Max. Also, he's been out for so long, and you know, even the Dustin Poirier build up, he talked all this shit and they see his leg fall off. So I think we're thinking of the days when he was talking all that, we're not here to take part, we're here to take over, all that. That's all fine and dandy when you're winning. When you haven't won in 7 years, it's a tough sell, man, as far as that hype. You know what I'm saying? Stylistically, it's a horrible match.
Max is going to be so strong at 170, being able to eat whatever, you know, I mean, within reason, but being able to eat whatever he wants, being able to be as strong as you've ever seen him.
I think the thing to think about is, you know, Max Holloway's always been Mr. Durable, kind of like Nate Diaz. And once that goes, it's a sad, sad thing to watch. So it's like, the questions are, is Max Holloway still Mr. Durable? We know if this fight goes in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, it favors Max. Conor's never been a cardio guy. It's just not his thing. So if this goes 4 and 5, that's going to definitely favor Max. Max has been active. Like I would put Conor at like a plus 500. I think he's a plus 300. I put him at plus 500. It's a very, very tough.
As UFC 329 gets closer, the online debate around Conor McGregor's much-discussed return against Max Holloway is still very split. Some fans think McGregor could tap back into the level that made him one of MMA's biggest worldwide names, while others believe Holloway's non-stop activity, relentless pace, and raised questions about durability might be the tougher puzzle to solve. That is the question hanging over this matchup right now. If you are tracking this build-up, like, subscribe, share, and comment with your take. See you on the next one.